it's a good time for us to sit and think about what we've accomplished this session. The first half of the session, of course, was totally devoured by right-to-work debate and discussion. The second half of the session was a little different and was more like our regular legislative sessions. And we were able, we have, Senator Lanane and I put together a little list of the bills that we thought were really important bills. You know, when the dust settles and everybody gets out of here and the laws are actually in place and implemented, there are some really important things that did happen this legislative session. Not as many as usual, but some important bills. Human trafficking. Senator Lanane's bill just passed concurrence today on stage equipment regulation for and also the additional dollars for the state fair victims. I think the bath salts legislation will be very important in the whole scheme of things, and I think the lifeline legislation that I worked on with Senator Merritt that just passed concurrence, which gives some immunity to particularly college-age students, maybe underage drinkers, as an encouragement to access emergency medical services for people who need it. The additional dollars for full-day kindergarten, I think, is important. We would like to have seen some more dollars put into education, but we'll take the $80 million for full-day kindergarten. Although I don't think anyone should think that that's going to be additional full-day kindergarten services. What it will allow is for parents who are now paying for full-day kindergarten to not have to pay in the future. So it's not additional funds really to the schools. But what we wanted to talk about, I think, our major disappointment from this legislative session, and that is the fact that children and the needs of children in the state of Indiana have been left out. Those who are the most voiceless, the part of our population who is not represented by lobbyists in the hall. And there have been a lot of opportunities to do something really important for children. Certainly, Senator, you're all aware of Senator Taylor's attempts to do something about regulating child care ministries, which is a long-standing fight that we've had in the legislature, and we really thought that perhaps this year would be the year when we could finally make some progress in that area. Also, there have been a lot of complaints, a lot of constituents who have contacted us about DCS, the Department of Child Services, and some of the things that are going on there, or some of the things that aren't going on that should be going on in that department. I introduced a resolution to have a comprehensive study of DCS and the wraparound services that they should be providing to families at risk, and they are not. And that resolution was not heard in committee. I will make another attempt with Legislative Council to try and get that as a study this summer. But when you combine those two areas, the child care ministries and this DCS, with our lack of investment in education, returning some of the funds to schools that have been cut over the last couple of years, we really think that the big hole in this legislative session was the inactivity
Right.
on behalf of children.
If I could just add to that, Senator Simpson, in regards specifically to the issue about Senator Taylor's amendment and the child care ministries. Senator Taylor introduced that amendment last week sometime. And so the idea that, we didn't have enough time to do this, to me, does not hold water. This is an issue which as you mentioned here, we've studied for years now, basically. And I think Senator Taylor's amendment was based upon some language which had been considered before.
Well, it's the same requirements that we have of other child care centers.
We just say we would apply these to these ministries now. And, that actually is the purpose of a short session, is to address emergency matters. And I can't think of a more important issue that would qualify in this particular case. And I've been around here long enough to know that 2 weeks, and in fact probably 3 weeks, we could, if we needed to take this session to the 14th. I know we're trying to save dollars, but dollars pale in importance in this issue. We can do a lot around here in 3 weeks. It seems like we can, move mountains if we want to. So that's the thing which I find to be most discouraging. That there was sort of a response to Senator Taylor's amendment that, we're just not going to even try. And I think we could have. Sure, everybody knows that language probably would have been changed, it would have been altered, but he provided a platform for us to move forward and do something. And so that is, I think, probably the biggest disappointment, I would say, of this particular session. We did some good things, as you mentioned here. Those were all very good bills that you've talked about. And by the way, those were done in a bipartisan fashion. And members of our caucus were... The
way the legislature is supposed to work.
Right. And as you mentioned, the second half of the session went that way. We worked together, and our members brought a lot of important ideas and hard work to those bills. But the rejection, if you will, outright of Senator Taylor's efforts is
in the DCS study.
In the DCS study too, right? Those are, I think we could be faulted for those.
And one other thing I want to mention that I think was notable, and I really didn't think about it until this morning when I started thinking about what we were going to say, and that is that there were a lot of crazy bills introduced this session, and some of them actually did not pass. So in thinking about it, there were some kind of outrageous, radical agenda items that were introduced, somebody's agenda, and I think we participated in making sure the public knew about some of these crazy bills. We filed amendments to kind of offset some of the radical parts of some of those bills. Senator Lansky even filed an amendment, a Lake County senator, to completely turn Indianapolis election upside down and do away with the city county council members elected at large. And we immediately filed some pretty creative amendments of our own. So she knew that if she called hers, that we would call ours. That would have changed Lake County government.
Senator Simpson, your amendment on the creationism bill, in which you pointed out it's not as simple as it seems, or as one would have you believe, when you go down this path of trying to teach, what are in essence religious beliefs about the beginning of life, or what have you, here on this planet.
Origin of life. That's different than beginning.
Right, origin of life.
That's a different issue. So anyway, in looking back on the sessions thus far, I think we really had an impact on some of the craziness that could have proceeded and didn't, and so. Sane heads occasionally prevail around here, and I think on some of those issues, we saved you all from being fined for singing the Star Spangled Banner, and I think the House, the Speaker of the House, made some good judgment calls on some of those bills as well. So.
I agree.